Welcome back. So in yesterday's session, I did a slow ramp, increasing at 5 watts a minute from 125 watts and managed to last just over 25 minutes. So I increased my test performance by around 30 seconds over my previous test that I did on day one. The other thing I did in my previous session was I did a 5-minute all-out effort as well. And my reason for doing that was I wanted to start to build a picture of what kind of power output I could sustain over different lengths of effort. So I'd already done the 20-minute effort, that's where we started from. So we know what I can hold for 20 minutes, but I'm interested in looking at those slightly shorter durations too. So yesterday I did 5 minutes, and I analysed the data last night afterwards. Turns out I averaged 241 watts for that 5-minute all-out test, so gold star to you if you predicted that within a watt or two. Today I'd like to just fill in that one other obvious gap between the 5 minutes and the 20 by going for around 10 minutes. So I'm taking a long, slow, steady warm-up today, and then I'm going to give my best over about a 10-minute effort, and then we can use that 5, 10 and 20-minute performance trial to build a curve to see how my performance changes over different durations. Okay, I've been pedaling away for a few minutes now, so I'm nearly ready to begin my 10-minute all-out trial. I might not do a PB effort in my 10-minute time trial today, but I'm going to give it a good go anyway, and we'll be able to see how that maps onto the 5 and the 20-minute test that I've done from previous sessions. Catch you at the end of the trial. Oh, that was tough. So there we have it, one 10-minute all-out performance trial done. Glad to have got that in the bank. And for the rest of this session now, I'm just going to ride easily. I've been doing quite a bit of intensity in these last few sessions. Well, basically since I started. Having not slept so well last night, I feel a little tired and I've lost my edge. Desire to push myself is simply not there really. I wouldn't have done this 10-minute effort if it hadn't been part of what I planned for the vlog. So I'm very happy to have got it done, and it will contribute to the overall training effect. But I don't feel the need to push on any harder than that right now. Rather, I want to recover, get ready for the next session, try and make that one a worthwhile one too. Okay, I'm going to ride on for a few more minutes, as I said, to finish this session. I'll be back later with a look at those numbers that we've got to see what I averaged for that 10-minute trial, and then to see how that fits into an overall model of my 5, 10 and 20-minute power. Thanks for joining me. Hi, welcome back. So you joined me on a day when I've had to change my plans up at the last minute. My original plan had been to do a nice steady tempo ride for an hour or more, because I've done a lot of shorter, more intense efforts in these first few sessions, and I'm ready to do a little bit longer, steadier, more endurance focused rather than... Hello and welcome back. You join me today when I'm having to make some last minute changes to my training plan, in the sense that today I was hoping to do a longer, steadier ride. I've had to improvise at the last second, and of course I don't want to go back and do some of the intense stuff, so I just want to do a ride that I can enjoy. So what I've done is just pop up my slow ramp, the 5 watts per minute ramp, and I'm just going to gradually ride up that so that I know I'll get a reasonable warm up into the ride, starting at 125 watts. I'll just ride that until it starts to feel uncomfortable, and at that point I'll stop the ramp and then just ride easily for the remaining time that I've got. In total, I think I've got something like 30 or 40 minutes that I can manage today. So I'll probably ride 20-25 minutes up the ramp, and then just take an easy, steady tempo ride for the last 10 or 15 minutes that I have left. Thanks for joining me. See you at the end of the session. I've done a total now of 20 minutes to take me up to 230 watts. And well short of the 250 watts or 25.5 minutes that I last did a max test. But still, it gives me a good workout and a sense of whether things have shifted markedly since the last ride, and an easier benchmark to compare against on future rides if I want to repeat the same thing. So I can go up to around 230 watts and see how I feel, look at my heart rate responses and make a comparison between them without having to do a full maximum effort. Today, it wasn't because I wanted to know how I was going, it was just simply a nice little shortcut in terms of getting a 30-minute ride squashed into the day when I'd run out of time. So it's kind of just putting down a marker for future rides. Thanks for joining me again. Hello and welcome back. Well, you've probably noticed that my training so far has been fairly intense, at least the majority of it around or just above threshold. So you won't be at all surprised to know that I'm craving a slightly longer ride. Now, if I was based somewhere where the weather was warmer, this would be a perfect opportunity to go out and start doing a few longer rides. But the last few days we've had 10 to 15 centimeters of snow here, and several times the temperature has stayed below zero all day long, so I'm kind of stuck indoors. And it's something I found to watch out for is when I train indoors a lot, it's very easy to start lifting the tempo and get stuck in a high intensity training rut. So today I'm determined to shake out of that, and I'm going to do it by just taking a relatively unstructured and fun approach. I'm just going to go for a steady ride. I'm aiming to do something just over an hour. Now, for endurance sessions, many years ago we didn't have power meters, and so we had a rough rule of thumb to use for heart rate monitoring when all the zones were typically divided by heart rate, and typically we'd suggest to riders that for endurance rides they look to build their endurance platform on a heart rate that's around 45 beats below the maximum. So in my case, I think my maximum heart rate is about 170, so I'm looking for a heart rate of 125 upwards. So 125 to 135, something like that. My FTP is around 195, and so another rough guide is about 75%, and that brings me in at just over 150 watts. So I'm kind of looking for a ride that covers those two areas, somewhere in the region of 150 watts and a heart rate of between 125 135 beats per minute. And that should just give me a nice steady ride. I should feel like I know I've done something by the end of it, but not too stressful, and certainly much more extensive and less intensive than I've been doing of late. And I'll probably look to do that for a good couple of days now, to try and balance up my training a bit, put a little bit more volume or steady volume back in. I'll check in the end of the ride to tell you how I got on. Hi, I thought I'd just check back in. I'm about halfway through the ride now, and I'm really pleased with the way it's going. Those guidelines that I came up with before for power and heart rate seem to be working out very nicely. So I found a virtual group online that I could tag along with, so I'm just sitting here amongst a virtual bunch of riders, going through and off. Let's have a look at my stats so far. I've averaged 156 watts and a heart rate of 129, so almost exactly what I said at the outset. And in terms of effort, it's about a 5 or a 6 out of 10, and I'm humming along nicely. No problems about getting to the end of the session today, although I think if I go for an hour 15, I'll feel that by the end of it. So. Hi, you join me in the middle of a real change of focus in my training at the moment. I've taken a much needed break from the more intense sessions, and I'm doing a slightly longer, less intensive session today. I'm just riding with a virtual group, so I haven't plugged in a specific training protocol as such. I'm just enjoying the flexibility that brings. But let's have a quick look at my stats at the moment. I've averaged 154 watts and my heart rate is 127. Now, if memory serves me correctly, that's a few beats lower than it's been in the last few sessions, so maybe eventually I'm starting to find some training effects from the sessions that I've done up to now. I've done 9 sessions in 16 days, so perhaps that's starting to pay off. And I must say, I'm really enjoying this session. My plan over the next few days is to try and put a few of these rides back to back. So today, tomorrow, and probably one other one before I then look to mix things up again. So I'll check back in at the end of the ride, let you know how it's gone. Hi there, you're joining me at the end of my ride. An hour and 22 minutes have already been ticked off. In my previous session I did an hour and 15, so I've extended my duration quite nicely. And a couple of little points to note. The first is that what I've done is extend the duration of my ride by 10%. And that's a general guideline for people to produce manageable progression in training, the 10% rule. Any more than that and you're inviting either excessive fatigue or possibility of injury in particular. So 10% is a really good guideline, but do also keep in mind that that applies to the length of your session, not the intensity. Increasing the intensity of your training session by 10% is much more challenging than increasing the duration by 10%. So in my case, I've gone 75 minutes plus 10%, 7.5. So I'm at an hour and 22.5 minutes. That's fine. If I'd increased the intensity from 155 watts by 10% to by another 15 to 170, there is no way I could have done that for an hour and 15, let alone an hour and 20. So keep in mind that it's always much easier to increase your training or progress your training by increasing the duration of the ride or the number of intervals rather than by increasing the intensity of the ride. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll see you again in the next session.